everybody, and welcome to a serious episode of the Slumber Party podcast today. Um,
It is the
this
morning
is a
of.
wing. Uh, it is the morning of May 18th, 2023. Vanderpump Rules just played last night. The sun is shining outside, and I am going to tackle a topic that's never been tackled on this before. Early mornings. Now I'm
What?
laughing because what? This is I'm going to go into a little bit of a tangent because I don't want to be okay. Sorry, I have a lot of thoughts. So I'm going to go back to my days where I was a high school teacher and I would be marking papers, and you'd be marking papers or like a test or something, and you read the same incorrect answer over and over and over again, right? And you have to check yourself because by the 25th paper or the 25th test that you're writing, you're like annoyed at that answer. You're like, oh, why don't you get it? But like that is one person, and they didn't know that you just looked at like 25 of the same paper, the same answer, right? So like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You're not actually really mad at that student. You're just being like, damn, like I screwed up at communicating this part or something. This is on me. And I want to say this is my experience with early morning wakings. So I'm so personally triggered, which tells me you folks have been keeping me in the business for a long time. And I'm so grateful. I love what I do. I love what I do. I love what I do so much. But I can set a goddamn clock to when I'm not even kidding, this is a true story.
Yeah.
When my
100%.
email and DMs will be about early mornings. And I tried to get ahead of it. I did. I did a full, I don't know how many 10 slide story that I've saved in my Instagram. So if you want to go back to Instagram at Baby's Best Sleep, and you want to look at my highlights, the very first highlight I have right now is on early mornings because I knew it was coming for us. Okay. I did this at the beginning of April because I am a seasoned consultant. Seasoned. Don't let this face and hair fool you. Seasoned. 40 years old. It's not my day one. I know what's going to happen. And I'm going to try to break down why it's happening today and some stuff that you can do about that. But okay. So right before I decide, I'm like, okay, you know what? Number one, June's newsletter is going to be about early mornings. I try to I've been writing my newsletters ahead of time, but then something will come out and then I end up changing it at the last minute. And that's exactly what's happened in June. I've had so many questions about early mornings that I just changed it all. I've done some deep research. I'm not even kidding. I have literal citations in the newsletter about where you can find why this is happening. Um, and
As
uh,
an
and
Amanda
then I thought,
does.
yeah, as I do, problems. um, so I did all of that. It's coming to you. You'll probably get this podcast around the same time, but I'm just letting you know how serious this is for me. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's do this week on early mornings because I've had 3 inquiries this morning, and literally while you were going upstairs, Lisa, to get your glass of water before we were recording, I checked my email, and one of my certification members is like, "Hey, I have a question. My client is waking early," and I was like, "Oh, like I am so sorry for that scream." It's almost like, it's not everyone's fault. It's your own individual lives. But for me, it's all I hear about every day before I go to bed, when I wake up in the morning, all day, all of my emails, all of my DMs around this time. And I'm going into my 7th year. Officially, actually, we're going into the 7th year. BBS has officially been on for 6 full years. I am telling you, this happens every single year. every year.
And you know what? Not to trigger you, but this morning
I'm
was the
triggered.
very first time, probably in all of the school year, that Miss Charlotte walked up the stairs to wake us up.
Okay.
I was like, oh, hi, you're waking us up. That's silly. Go to bed.
I have streams of data. If you were to like do a search within my um, email inbox, and if you wrote early morning wakings, you would see that the majority early morning waking questions come between the months of late April to mid June, and
Yeah.
then if you want to look at other data, my early morning masterclass does its most amount of sales in this amount of time.
And our wait
All of it.
list is bumping right now. So
Yes. I woke up in our company WhatsApp, and the first question is, "Do you work with early mornings?" I'm just like, okay. So I'm telling you, I am someone who feels comfort by like what if other people are experiencing it. I'm like, oh, good, it's not just me. I'm not screwing up, or it's not just my thing. It's everyone's thing. So I'm sharing that with you to share how common and part of the universe we are. We are part of the planet. And I really want to break down why this is happening to everyone all at once and why it might not change for you. Okay. Now, everyone just turned off the podcast. I'm going to give you
bye.
tips. Don't worry. Bye
Nothing to see here.
bye. Like, look, for some of you this is going to change. For others it's just not, and there's nothing you can do. And then in September, October, you'll have this super sleeper again. Honestly, let's talk about why. So um people don't like to hear this, or not like to hear it, but for many of our clients who hire us, they are like type A overachiever. If you work hard or research it, you can fix it. I would put myself in this in some ways. I don't think I'm type A. I have too many like errors in my life to be type A, but I think that I I feel like if there's a problem, it can be solved. I do feel like that. And I look it up and I research it to the end of like if something is interesting to me, I will read it and I'll figure out how to do it and I'll become an expert on it. Like it's for better or
You're
for
like
worse.
Ramona.
Ramona
She talks about
from
that. Sorry. Yes, the
I
Ramona,
am
the only
nothing
one.
like Ramona from Real
No,
Housewives of New
this
York.
is her
I
thing
am
about how she is such a great businesswoman because she researches everything and she becomes an expert in it. It's like her
I know.
famous
Sorry, I
line.
was just triggered that you thought
Sorry.
you
No.
said it was like
No,
Ramona.
no.
Like
In
literally, I could
that
be like
way.
anyone else. But also, it's like Ramona's so full of shit that I just like do not believe that for a second. Anyway, okay.
Sorry.
So I can't believe she's back. Also on the Legacy, I don't know how she got
Oh
back
yeah.
after like her anti-Semitic comments in the last season that she was in, coupled with
Yeah.
her girls trip. It was so awful. I'm disgusted. And I think Bravo thought, I mean, we're taking a real detour here, but Bravo thought we would all forget. I have not forgotten. I can't believe she's
No.
back. I think, who cares that she's good TV? She should not be given money for this nonsense. Like, she
Yeah.
is
Or any
out of
platform.
touch and ugh. Anyway, um,
Sorry to bring it there.
okay, let's go back. So I research everything, and what tends to happen is the springtime comes, and all of a sudden these like babies that were waking up at reasonable hours, like 6, 7, are starting to get up before 6. Okay, that we might start to see 5:30, 5:45. I'm going to take you through an actual experience that I had this morning. This actually just happened. I'm not, and no word of this is a lie. So we have, because I am who I am, we have blackout curtains on top of professional blackout shades custom made by Blinds to Go. No sponsorship, although If you want to come on, I'll talk about you.
Yeah, they
You're in
should.
every single room. They are really great. But blinds to go, and we use them. Now, last night we forgot to put down the shade behind the curtain. Okay, so we had blackout curtains. These are blackout. It's not just like whatever. These are blackout curtains, but the shade was not down below the curtain. I was up this morning. I set my alarm for 6:45. The I was up, no joke, at 5:15 with the sun blaring in my room. 5:15. It is bright, bright, bright. 5:15. I'm like, what the hell? What? And I am like up and down, up and down. I'm like aggressively being like, no, more sleep. But I am up because the sun is literally telling my body it is time to be awake. And some of you now are going to go, Amanda, I have double layered my window. I have 50 layers of garbage bags. I've painted my room black. Like, who knows? How can my child still be waking if they are not seeing or witnessing the sun? And this is where we get back to those things that people like will hear this and they won't buy it. They're like, meh, but we are literally connected to the planet, right? Like, there's no question in my mind when half of the population of Ontario is emailing me personally about early mornings all at the same time, that is not a planetary event. Okay. And it goes, so I did some research. Okay, like, why does this happen? How do we know? So there's a few things that actually happen that are really interesting. Number one, the concept of ambient light. Okay. Unless you are truly placing your child in a black box, like a set, like no sensory experience, your body is sensing, your body is alert and aware at all times, right? There's actually research that when people are put under anesthesia, they may not have an actual memory, but there's a body memory of what
Hmm.
has happened. I recently underwent a very minor procedure for something, and I had to go under, and I didn't like that idea. I was like, I don't like this idea. But my anesthesiologist was like, did you know that there's a lot of research that says, like, even though you don't remember, your body remembers. So I make sure that when you are in their operating room, people are speaking kindly. There's or like everything is calm, so your body doesn't remember. And I really like that. Number one, really nice for him to share that. But it also is a reminder that your body is always aware, always scanning for safety. Even when you sleep, there is a level of awareness that you're not aware of. So if
Hmm.
there's a little bit extra light outside coming in from the bottom of your door, if we're just, you'll also notice, especially in our where we are in the northern hemisphere, there's increased daylight. So, period. So, more daylight exposure in the mornings, more daylight exposure in the evenings. And that ambient light, that extra light exposure does impact how your child is waking. So, what does that tell us? For some of you, there is absolutely jack shit that you are going to be able to do for the next little while your child is getting up in the morning. So that means you might offer an earlier bedtime because they're getting up earlier. It might mean that you go to bed early because your kid gets up. And like, I hate telling people this. Lisa, am I a morning person?
No, no, you're not.
I am not. I don't like
No, yeah,
my
you
kid got up
definitely
at like
need the time to shake it out in the morning and to get ready and all that stuff. Yeah.
I need a lot of lead time before
Yes.
I see people and start to like function. So I get it. I'm not saying like all is lost, but I also don't want you to be doing all of these things that could be potentially ruining what's really great in your sleep. So that's one. So we have more light, that ambient light everywhere. That's going to increase wakings, even despite your best effort to put your child in a sensory deprivation bin. If you haven't done that, The one thing I'm going to tell you to do right now is get blackout blinds. Get, like, if you can't get blackout blinds, I want you to double layer Costco size garbage bags to your door, or not your door, your window,
Oh,
um,
yep.
with painter's tape, because it won't impact your finish. And then you can reuse those. Like at the end of the year, take them, fold them up, and reuse them again. It's not safe to do that if you have a child who's pulling on them and can play with them. So if you have an older kid, that might not be your best effort. You might want to invest in proper blackout blinds. But for now, get out as much sun as possible. I want to say for the 50% of you who are experiencing early wakes, 25% of that 50 or 50% of that 50% will see a more prolonged um, waking time in the morning if they do that. Okay, that's a
Hmm.
really easy fix that you can do right away. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we see subtle changes in temperatures. And we all know that a human body likes to be nice and cold at night. So, those subtle shifts in temperatures, especially in the spring when our houses haven't quite caught up to like air conditioning or not, or it's not quite, you know, hot enough to put it on during the day, those, one or two temperature degree shifts in the room can really impact how we fall asleep. Maybe it's getting a little bit warmer in the morning, so they're a little more alert and aware. So you might want to consider how you're dressing your baby as well.
Hmm.
That might be looking at their sleep sacks. Look at the TOG level. So, TOG stands for thermal overall grade. The lower the TOG, the cooler it is. The higher the TOG, the warmer it is. You might want to just pop your baby in a diaper in their sleep sack, or like short sleeves. Again, anything between 17 to 21 degrees Celsius is optimal sleep temperature, which is often surprising for people because that feels low. That works out, I think, to be about 63 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit for my American listeners. Um, so you want to be thinking about those shifts in temperature as well. That's going to be pretty massive for you. Um,
Hmm.
Lisa, any thoughts on that before I continue like yelling?
I just want to compliment myself in how
Yeah.
in tune and aware I am of these
Mhm.
things.
Mhm. Yep.
Because we have just switched, like, my daughter's dresser. We just switched the short sleeves and short PJs to the front,
We
and
just
then
did
the
it
long
too.
sleeves to
Yep.
the back.
Yep.
And yeah, and the way that our house is, like, each kid has their own air conditioning unit in their room,
Mhm.
and yeah, we've been popping that on to like a preset temperature, so it kind of just
Yeah.
stays at that. So yeah,
That's
I am
perfect.
rocking so far, and yet still, she's so connected to the earth that she got up at six
Honestly, the
thirty
sun was a
today,
blaring this morning.
which is a
I
full
mean,
hour before she normally gets up.
yeah.
Okay, that is
Yeah.
significant, and she's the one that sleeps in. So yeah,
I couldn't
despite
believe
my
it
best
when I
efforts.
was up. Yes, and I was up and I was like, "Wow, I'm going to hear about it today." And then I did.
Hmm.
So there's that part. So then we have to get down to, in general, like, what is a reasonable expectation for a child's sleep? Because this is where I think it gets into a funky situation. First and foremost, stop looking on the internet. Don't look at my stuff for sleep totals. You can, but we all know that this is a really individualized experience. How long your baby naps, how long they sleep overnight, that's going to be normal is within a range. So that means that we can't say, like, all babies should sleep this, or all babies should, everyone should do that, because you're going to pull your hair out trying to achieve these impossible like lengths, right? Or totals that just may not be appropriate for your baby. Listen carefully. If your child is sleeping 10 to 12 uninterrupted and unassisted. I say unassisted because they could be waking at 5 a.m. to be assisted back to sleep. So, unassisted hours of sleep in a row, that is likely going to be your best. If they are getting anywhere, depending on their age, 2.5 to 4 hours of daytime sleep, they're okay. Okay, they're okay. Now, if you say, okay, well, my kid is at those totals, now we have to look at behavior. How is your child acting? So a lot of parents will say, well, they seem tired in the morning. Well, we all seem tired in the morning. Or they're so cranky. Let's be careful that we're not projecting our feelings and our emotions there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which happens all the time, I think, with parents. But if they do seem a little bit tired, cranky, not ready to wake, it could mean that, if we can't fix what's happening in the early morning, we might have to go onto like the back end of sleep or the front end at bedtime and offer a temporary earlier bedtime to make up those hours of sleep. You might also notice that your baby seems cranky, but they're napping a little bit longer at each individual nap. They're finding ways to um, make up for that sleep that they are
Mm-hmm.
losing. Do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
there's there when I get into the nitty gritty, like I said, I had that person um, text our uh, company WhatsApp and was like, "Do you work with early mornings?" I was just really blunt and said no, and this is why. And is your baby getting this amount of sleep? And she's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "All right." I design, and this is not a sell for this, like I don't care if you buy it or not, but because of all of those things that suck so much for us, I never want to work one on one with people because it's more expensive on early mornings because I can't guarantee that we'll be able to change anything, especially if you're laying in that 10 to 12 hour zone or 2.5 to 4 hours of sleep during the day. So we designed an early morning masterclass that is $29 that has every single strategy that I implement with my clients. And if you want to have at her, you're like, I still want to master early mornings, then I highly suggest you head over to babysbestsleep.com. You go under our masterclass section. We'll link it in this episode as well to buy that masterclass. So you have everything that I would tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, if you were someone whose babies are waking up in the fours, or you're still assisting to sleep, or you are, is that a trigger for you? I remember Henrik waking
Yeah.
up at 4.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like the worst time. It's just
And
the
you would get
worst.
up with
Yes.
him like a
I
saint.
know.
I know. You were a
Like an
saint.
idiot.
You're
No,
such a good
yeah.
mom. I'd be like, go to bed. Ah! No, it
I
wouldn't
know.
be
Well,
exactly like
his
that.
nap would be at 8 a.m. It was so stupid. And
Where
it was
everyone
also
goes
the
back to bed.
spring. Yeah, but I was pregnant,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
it was the spring. I'm like ready to get up for many reasons. And yeah,
Yeah.
but it had to change for sure. We had to like implement some other strategies later on. But yeah, but again, it was like cyclical. But yes, there was a
Yeah.
spring when we first moved to our second house from our condo, and it was like I remember, and you would call me from Australia, like, "What are you
Why
doing?
are you awake?
Yeah, why are
Yeah.
you up?"
It's
Yeah.
4 a.m. there.
Oh,
It worked out for us for a
awful.
long time.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Um, no, it's funny because I know, just off topic, you and I are always like, oh, I wish we talked like the old days, not acknowledging the fact that, like, the old days were the only way it worked, or because we were on two opposing schedules where our time was like at the right time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it was at night for me and your day and vice, and now it's like a mismatch. And it's like,
I know.
okay, here's what we do. I will move to a place that's 36 hours away by plane.
I saw this
um
meme the other day about how my something about my friend daring to move away too far from me that that
yeah.
I don't know that we can't get lunch or something. But yeah. Anyways, that
Yeah,
didn't
but I
apply
mean, we
here.
made it work. I
File
remember
this under the
Brad
Ramona
being
comment.
Um, so, okay, yes,
Anyway,
there
yeah.
is an early morning masterclass. You can try those things, but if you get to a point where that isn't working for you, and like I said, you're not getting up in the fours, or you are not assisting to sleep. If you're assisting to sleep, reach out because we can help you. We can help you stop assisting to sleep. For a large portion of our clients, if they come to us and they're like, "Can you work on my early mornings too?" It's like your early mornings are probably a result of the assistance to sleep. We can help with all of that. But if you are not assisting your baby to sleep, if your baby is sleeping, however many, like 10 to 12 hours, then there might be some subtle shifts that we can do, but also maybe not. So, like, all of this to say, it is the spring. I'm probably going to do this podcast again next year. I want you to go to my Instagram. I want you to go to my TikTok. I'll make a TikTok about this today. Why not? And I just want you to normalize the experience. And truly, the purpose of this podcast and everything I do is to take the pressure off you to do anything. I know early mornings suck, but if you can kind of accept them and, put yourself to bed 30 minutes earlier to deal with them, you're going to hate your life a lot less. And when you hate your life a lot less, you're going to be a better parent. And that's all I want for you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your baby. It's just the fucking sun. And that's
Yeah. And in the
honestly
mere
what it
7 to 8 years, your child will be waking up later. So it's all good.
But then I have to say, I was thinking about that because I made a joke on Instagram. Hey guys, my early riser just woke up at 7:30 and had to be woken up. Just so you know, it takes 9 years. And then
Yeah.
everyone's like, ha ha ha. And then I noticed, like, yeah, she's waking up later, but she's so mad about things. Like, she
Yeah.
just
Oh, I
has such an
know.
attitude. I was like, hey, can you go inside and grab your water bottle? She's like, you are closer to the door and you're just sitting there. And I'm like, I like didn't say anything because I was so shocked. I was like, "Oh, uh,
Yeah.
okay.
They start to
I'll
sleep
talk
in,
to
but
you
then
about
they
that in a
start to be
second."
preteens.
9 is no
Yeah.
joke. It doesn't
I know.
end. It doesn't
No.
end. Lisa, any thoughts? Thank you for
Insulting me.
insulting you. Did I
No,
insult you?
no. I with the Ramona comment.
Oh,
Yeah, like
yeah.
all of my thoughts are the same. It's funny because you were saying this is your fourth podcast about this subject, and it must be a yearly thing, right? Like it must be your
Yes.
fourth year that you've
Yeah.
been doing this.
Yeah. It's true. Fifth year. I think we started the podcast in
Yeah,
2018. I think you're
yeah.
exactly right. Yep. Good one.
So, I mean, if anybody takes anything
It's
out of this, aside from all of the helpful tips, is that it is all cyclical and we're all miserable. So, if that makes you feel better,
all of us.
then jump on this train.
There's
Yeah.
space for you here.
Mm-hmm.
As always, you can go online to babiesbestsleep.com to sign up for our newsletter because I send a newsletter out. We're on YouTube if you want to see what we look like. We're really dressed up today. I'm going to put this out in the universe. I'm manifesting that I am hoping this is the last episode we will ever record in this space and that I will be up in my new office out of the basement. I'm manifesting it,
And
asking
I'm
my
in the
teams of
basement.
light
I'm
to
in my
assist
new
me.
space in the basement.
Yes, it's like whoa.
We're the
Um,
opposite.
that's right. You can find us on Instagram or TikTok at Baby's Best Sleep. Lisa can be fine at BBS_LIZA. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And I hope your baby suddenly starts sleeping in. I do. I want this for you. Okay, bye.